Chefs chase stars, others chase a legacy, but very few chase both and actually catch them. Christiaan Stoop was born to Dutch parents in Germany, a kid with fire in his blood and a knife in his hand. By the time most people are still trying to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their lives, Christiaan Stoop was already training in the art of fine dining, training under the legendary Heston Blumenthal at the Fat Duck, and creating Michelin-Starred dishes at the Eszima in Munich, and pushing the boundaries of modern cuisine in Barcelona. Then he landed in Shanghai and changed the game. 3 Michelin stars, the highest level of excellence, the kind of pressure that breaks most chefs, but fueled him. Today, for the first time ever, we sit down behind the mastermind of Taian table and talk about the journey, the pressure, the sacrifice, and the truth about fine dining, and the truth about the industry, the part they don't want you to hear, and one question that might shake the culinary world. This is Christiaan Stoop, and this is the interview you have all been waiting for. My name is Chef Ismail, and this is Chef Ismail's Kitchen Quest.
Chef Christiaan Stoop, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to sit with me, to speak with me about your journey from the very beginning up until now, and then also your future plans. It's a complete honor because you are who is leading a 3 Michelin-star restaurant as well as a 2 Michelin-star restaurant, and it's definitely not an easy feat. So what I want to do is I want to get into your opening. So your introduction as well as your early inspirations. And so you were born to Dutch parents in Germany. What role did culture and upbringing play in shaping your food philosophy?
All right. Thank you, Ismail. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm very happy to be part of this podcast. So my name is Christian. I'm here based in Shanghai right now. And coming back to your question, I grew up in Germany, born to Dutch parents, and I started cooking at a very early age, since I was around 12 years old. But I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. It always, in the beginning, it sounds like a bit of a sad story, but actually it's a very positive thing, because otherwise I wouldn't have found what I've loved, cooking. When I was 12, my parents divorced, and my dad was sort of alone taking care of us and my 2 sisters at that time. So every evening I was this annoying kid calling up my dad and asking, when are you coming home? We are hungry. So at some point he said, Chris, you're the only man at home right now. Why don't you start cooking? Why don't you get to the grocery store, or you get some pasta and start with tomato sauce? And this is sort of how I got in contact with cooking in the first place.
That's an awesome story. My dad was very different. But was there a single moment or a single dish that made you realize this is what I want to do with my life?
Um, it took a bit longer. I think the first 2 to 3 years, I didn't really know what I was doing at home. It was just out of requirement, so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed helping my dad and seeing the faces of my 2 sisters and my dad. But also because he made a very funny rule. At that time, I was a super computer nerd. I was into video games a lot. And he made this rule: whoever cooks decides what we eat and doesn't have to do the dishes. So that sort of kept me going. It was like a loophole with my 12-year-old brain to think like, okay, now I have more time to play video games, so I can support my dad, but also decide what we eat. And over the time, I think my neighbors, my friends saw, and instead of giving me computer games for my birthdays, I got then cookbooks and my first apron and a chef's knife. I remember with 15, I got my first chef's knife. And then I kept cooking, but I never thought of it as a professional thing until I was 15, and we had a chef coming to our school, revamping like a staff canteen, and we all had to chop chives or something. And yeah, he sort of spotted me, said, okay, this kid, I never seen someone in this age already handling a knife like that way. Um, why don't you come after school and work in our kitchen? And that was at that time a one Michelin-Starred restaurant in Munich. And this is the time when I sort of licked blood. I entered that kitchen, people were yelling, it was high pressure. And what I loved the most about it, they made me feel already like an adult straight when I entered. They gave me a section, they told me, okay, this is what you do, those are the two dishes. I clearly remember it was like a fishy sauce, like a leek potato soup, and I had to chop potatoes brunoise for them. And I got yelled at, and that is the moment. It was not a particular dish. It was not a particular, uh, how to say, yeah, a food experience where I say, okay, this is what I want to do. It was more the camaraderie and the team spirit I saw in the kitchen, where I was like, wow, I'm okay with something because I had a head start because I started early, but I didn't know that it could be on this competitive level of cooking where there's so much stress and detail and focus on everyone's job. So yeah, I think that was the moment for me.
So you started off at a one Michelin star restaurant as your first job.
That was sort of like a stagiaire or more like an internship. Just yeah, after school when you have time, take the train, come in, and I didn't do it full time. Wasn't allowed. I tried my best to come in every holiday and every now and then. They gave me some pocket money, and I could learn a lot. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So I mean, many chefs have a rough start in the industry. What was it like in your first kitchen experience? Or what was your first kitchen experience like? Any horror stories other than the uh the yelling?
um, so the first 3 years of my career or culinary degree. So in Germany, we have this dual system, and I did a classic apprenticeship, which is called Ausbildung in German. So it takes 3 years. You choose a restaurant, and the restaurant helps you to choose a culinary school. And then depends on which area of Germany you are. You work 2 weeks in a restaurant, and then you are in the school for 2 weeks, which is quite nice because well, you learn the basics in the restaurants, and then you can learn the theoretical stuff in school. Um, and I was very lucky that I got into an amazing restaurant, aka company, that was very diverse, which was called Käfer. And Käfer Service GmbH was the long name of the company, and they are specialized in basically everything. We did catering. They still do catering. They have a bistro. They have fine dining. They have a delicatessen, like a deli shop, where they have 400 types of cheese, fresh meat, fresh fish, vegetables from all over the world. And what they did over there is, in the first year, making sure, okay, you're in the catering place. There's no too much stress, no stress of the a la carte pressure. You have enough time to honor the knife skills and how to work clean on your section, how to do one thing at a time, and more importantly, how to how to get confident. So that was great. And then after a year, I moved to the main flagship in the city center of Munich, where they have the deli. So they have a bistro where you get your first hands-on a la carte experience, which is then getting a bit rougher or more rough. Then you get placed each month in one of the deli shops, whether it's cheese or fish, which is great. So you can just get to know the products a bit better. And then how they push the trainees they select. If you're good enough and you're good enough in the little small bistro inside the deli shop, you can move on the second floor, which is casual fine dining. It doesn't have a Michelin star, but it's high in volume and pretty good French food, brasserie style, 120, 140 covers at that time. And you are then in charge of the section, the middle courses, the soups, the pastas. And that was the first time I then experienced a bit more harsh kitchen culture. At that time, we had two chefs, one from Switzerland, one from France. And it's exactly what other people also say. It was just a bit more rough. I really appreciate what they did. It shaped me already from a very early beginning, but it was definitely a bit more harsh than other restaurants.
Man, that's a crazy. I can only imagine what that experience was like for you, especially as you're growing. A lot of people would be deterred from pursuing a career like that, especially um, with the what's it called? I guess kind of like the atmosphere in the restaurant with the high pressure, the chefs expecting such high standards of you, and as well as the team overall. So, I mean, kudos to you for sticking it out. Um, so you worked under some of the greatest chefs in the world. Who left the biggest mark on you and why?
Yeah, so staying at that company was a very good decision afterwards. So I did my apprenticeship. I finished that. And then my question was, okay, I definitely wanted to work in a 1 or 2 star restaurant, and I did different trials. And in the end, I always wanted to work with Bobby Breuer, who is the 2 Michelin star chef of the CAFA group. It's in the BMW world. And yeah, in the beginning, I got lucky enough because I worked very hard for the company that they said, okay, you can finish your apprenticeship the last like half year in Bobby Breuer. Normally, he never takes people who are still apprentices, but you showed us enough effort. So here you go. So I did that for half a year, and then I literally was begging him, like, can I come and work for you? I wanted to be part of this team. They offered me placements in the other stores of the company, but I really wanted to work for Bobby Breuer. And then he was like, sorry, I already just took someone. I had one commie place free and I already made the decision. I was like, oh shit. All right. So I went through the other restaurants in Munich, and then I got a phone call like two weeks later, and Bobby called me, Bobby Breuer, and said, hey, listen, um, there's like one more team member going, and normally I don't do this. It's a demi chef or chef de partie, but um, I can hire one more, and I hire you, but you start in the pastry. Is that okay? I'm like, okay, fine. Then I guess I start in a pastry, but at least I can start working with you. So I was very happy, and then I joined Bobby Breuer, and I think when I look back, I think most of the chefs, especially when they're young, they're a bit nervous, they're scared, they're lacking confidence. And what Bobby Breuer did to me in that first year was not only teaching me how to cook, but he taught me how to be confident. And so he's definitely one of the few chefs I'm really thankful for, because he was that kind of chef that was not only finger pointing at recipes, but also first thing was always just do it. Like the Nike slogan, but in German, you just said, just go ahead. How do you feel like you're going to cook it? Just go with the flow, with your natural instinct, with your gut feeling. And if it's shit, I'm going to tell you. And I now sort of do the same thing with my team. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that experience he gave me.
That's awesome. confidence is something that is an extremely important tool for any chef to have on their tool belt. So I want to get into your culinary philosophy and your passion. I want to know, you could be doing anything in the world, yet you chose to dedicate your life to food. Why do you cook?
Why do I cook? I do think it is the most beautiful job in the world. Throughout, I think I'm cooking now almost 14 years, and yeah, there are ups and downs, but being a chef, working with amazing ingredients, also being able to combine it to learn from different cultures, work abroad. Um, this job gave me so much that every day when I wake up, I'm happy to be in the kitchen. I'm happy now to work with an incredible team here in Shanghai, with people who are so passionate and restless. They want to learn. That for me, cooking has been the only thing I always wanted to do. I don't see it as a job anymore. It's definitely a calling, and yeah, it just feels natural. So, yeah.
So I want to know your creative process to your mindset in terms of putting your ideas on the plate. What does innovation look like to you? Do your best ideas come from deep research, or do they just happen in the moment?
Okay. Um, all right. So at Taian Table, we used to change the menu every 6 to 8 weeks, which is a challenge. We've done it now for Taian Table's done it almost 8 years, over 3 years at a 3 Michelin-Star level, and now we're reducing it to 4 menus a season. And the way we think at Taian Table is we want to highlight the ingredient and we want to focus on flavor first. Then, of course, personally speaking, I can only cook or create things that I personally believe are delicious. So if I believe you can make everything taste good, of course, but if there's something I don't like, I would never put it on the menu. And then another thing is, if something is super delicious, but it doesn't look as good as other dishes, we would still consider it putting it on the menu rather than the other way that, oh, it looks beautiful, but it doesn't taste as good as the previous dish. So for us, flavor, taste, the quality of ingredients always comes first. And then the second is, of course, how do you present it? How do you scale it down to 30 covers a night? That's another big thing a lot of chefs forget. Yeah, you can make one plate, but how can you do that consistently? 30 covers a night, 3 months long. Is the team suited for that kind of dish? And then when we work on new dishes, there's not one thing like you mentioned, or it comes overnight. Usually our main base menu is 8 dishes. So we set our timeline. Okay, we have 8 dishes in 3 months we need to create. And now out of experience, there's one dish which is called from my side or our side like a no-brainer. Comes overnight, you're in the shower, you sleep, or you talk with someone, and suddenly you have this idea, and you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna work. Like you already know, okay, I put a piece of ear, caviar, wagyu, sauerkraut, foam, da da da. Texture-wise, you can imagine it already in your head, and you know, okay, this is gonna work. So you have one dish out of the 8 courses, which is a no-brainer. And then the rest of the 7 courses is okay, let's say 3 dishes, you already have a good idea. I usually do this creative ping pong with my team, with my senior team, which is my chef de cuisine, my sous chefs, and my chef de parties, where I say, hey guys, next menu. We have this, I don't know, pigeon, and we have lavender in the season. Or I found this Celtus, which is local to the Chinese market, just on here on the streets. What do you guys think about it? And then my chef to cuisine talks about the dish he maybe had somewhere in China. And then one of my German chefs, something he saw or learned from another chef. Then we do this culinary ping pong that I throw an idea at them and they come back with other ideas, and that keeps the conversation started. And out of this, we sort of come out with other ideas, other ingredients, and then we just write them down on a big white board in our prep kitchen. So while we're doing mise en place every day, we always look at what we are currently working on, because you cannot just brainstorm and you cannot just sit down for 2 hours and put all your heads together. No, sometimes it takes time, but by constantly looking at what we are working at and also what dishes are missing, I just write the menu down 1 to 8, and then you see almost like a puzzle every week that some bits and pieces are getting inserted into it. It always helps that the entire team is involved. So I would say 3 to 4 dishes are then being created within 1 or 2 weeks. And then there are always the culprits, the dishes where you think you have a phenomenal idea, and somehow it just doesn't work. And those are like usually 1 to 2 courses where I need 1.5 months, 2 months, just to figure out the consistency, the recipe, that it works, the textures are fine, that the products are fine. You have a lot of micro seasons in China, which is phenomenal, but you have to consider that as well. That you found an amazing product, you work on it, you finalize the dish, and then the the delivery or the farmer is saying, okay, it's not available anymore, so you have to change again. So this creative process at Taian Table is, I think, the most challenging part, but also the most rewarding part for the entire team.
That's an interesting way to process it, because you're including not only your sous chefs and your executive sous chefs, but you're also including the chef de parties, and I think that's a great way to disperse the workload.
Absolutely, but there are multiple reasons why I do that, because A, I only have 2 hands. I cannot execute every dish by myself. B, the moment I already write down a garnish, not even the chef de parties, also our demi chefs, commis, apprentice, they are already mentally preparing themselves. Oh, chef wants me to do something with a sunchoke. Oh shit, what is it? I never done it. And then on their weekend, I know, because they're all passionate. They sit down and they do their research, and they maybe open up a book or maybe use ChatGPT or whatever, but do some research about the vegetable they're gonna work with. And it just gives them more time, more confidence to be familiar with the procedure. And then in the end of the day, also how to manage their section, that when we change the menu, that they already know, okay, what is happening. And not that we throw everything on the menu launch day at them. They're overwhelmed. They're not confident. That's one of a few reasons why I like to be very transparent with my team.
So, okay, I kind of want to ask you a follow-up question in terms of ingredients and availability.
Mhm.
At the French Laundry, Chef Thomas Taylor has his own garden, right? He has got his own team and so forth. So the team already knows exactly what they're going to be growing for that season. But in your case, you're relying on what the ingredients, in terms of availability, you're competing against other chefs. Am I correct in terms of getting the ingredients?
Yes. So we don't grow our own stuff here at Taian Table, But we do have a very close network with our farmers and producers. So most funny thing, actually, we have a lot of herbs in Germany, which I love, but I really miss here in Shanghai. Starting from savory to tarragon. The tarragon is not super good here. Like, looks good, but the flavor is just a bit different. Yeah, so what I did recently is I just bought a bunch of seeds from Germany, took them here to Shanghai. We gave them our farmers, and we said, "Hey, it would be great if you can have that in 3 months. Maybe you can multiply them and make sure we have enough." And they did that, and now we have fantastic savory and other herbs, which in the beginning we didn't have. So in this case, they do listen to us. They support us very much. And then on the other hand as well, if we require vegetables in a certain way, they do farm them, tailor-made them to us. So communication part is here very well. Also here in China, everything goes super fast. Just send pictures, you return them within 1 hour. You get new vegetables. So this is making our life quite easy here.
That's incredible. So that's cool that they tailor to you guys in terms of like the seeds, right? For that's a great example, or a great way to also cultivate a great relationship with them, because in order for you guys to have that type of relationship, or even that type of favorite, you guys have to have a tight knit relationship with each other. Has there ever been an instance where there wasn't enough availability on a certain ingredient, and you had to adapt to the current menu or anything like that? And how did you?
For sure. No, that happens because, well, our products are natural. Mistakes happen. It's just important to react on them. So there have been maybe a day, I think, last year where we were running out of something. The good thing is that our menu is very big. We have a base menu and we have add-ons. So we are always able to change. We are always able to change the protein or just the course. And if something is not good enough, we have this very famous signature dish from Stefan Stiller, which is on the menu since 8 years. It's just a beautiful piece of sourdough bread, which is toasted, dipped in a special solution, and then topped up with oyster mayonnaise, the freshly arrived uni, the sea urchin, with a thin slice of a green apple. And if the quality is not good, we don't sell it. Easy as that. We just tell the guests, even if a lot of guests come for this dish, we tell them, sorry, today it's just not good enough. It's not as per our standard. Nothing to be ashamed for. We have enough other dishes which are as good as that one. Quality comes first. So yeah, you just have to react on it.
So your guests must be really happy that you're upholding those standards, because again, you're not willing to. You're not doing it for food. For money. You're doing it because it's flavor based. Of course, it's important, but at the same time, you're looking after your clientele, your guests, in terms of quality.
Yes, for sure. I mean, we're all responsible to cook safely, but also you have a certain expectation, and that expectation needs to be not only met, but the guests need to leave with with an amount of surprise that they're like, okay, everything was phenomenal. The products are amazing. The entire evening was well. Service was good. Music was fine. It's the whole experience, and there cannot be one thing that default. And I think, yes, for us, it's the most important thing to cook for the guests, not for accolades, not for anything else. But in the end of the day, we go to each table and we ask, did you had a good experience? Did you had a good evening? Not did you had good wine? Did you had good food? No, it's the overall thing. Did you had a good experience? That's why people come to our restaurant.
That's awesome. So I want to get into ingredients versus technique.
Yeah.
Some chefs believe that great cooking is all about sourcing the best ingredients, while others believe technique is absolute king. Where do you stand?
I stand in the middle. It's a blend of both. You need to have the best ingredients wherever you are. You cannot cook great food if the ingredients are not good enough, whether we are talking about vegetables, herbs, or protein. But also, if your technique, your craftsmanship is not good, then how how are you going to transform that ingredient into a very balanced dish? So for me, it's both sides. It's the responsibility to check every ingredient that arrives in your kitchen, but also people do forget. It's controversial, but I don't think chefs are artists. I don't think so. I truly believe that it's craftsmanship. It's something you need to learn. It's something that you get taught in the very beginning through skills. And yes, you can be very creative to it for sure. And that's the beauty of this job. But the number one thing it is and stays the craftsmanship. And so like I said, it's a mix of both, but I rather tend that people still need to focus on the main responsibility of our job, that it is a craftsmanship. It has never been anything before. It was always a craftsmanship, and you just need to honor that and learn every part of it. And you can't stop. Um, including myself, including the other chefs. I think you just need to improve yourself, keep your head down, look left and right side what other people are doing, and be honest to yourself what you're good at and what you're lacking at, and try to fill that hole.
That's a very controversial statement you just made there. You know, oh man, I'm almost inclined to disagree with you on that one because, and it's a healthy disagreement, okay? Because I think I think we are. You're right. Like it is a craft. We are trying to hone our skills into being the best at possible. For example, doing a chiffonade. Everybody everybody doing a chiffonade should already, know what a chiffonade is and how to execute the chiffonade. But I think when it comes down to artistry, I like to think that, and I'm sure you've heard this, that the plate is your canvas, right? And our plate is essentially where we're doing is we're dressing the plate as a form of art. So example at the Bocuse d'Or, right? They had some immaculate plating. They had some immaculate, dishes, especially on the French side, obviously, right? Because they won. Um, do you firmly believe that? Man, how do I say this? So you firmly believe that it's not an art, or you kind of like, do you want to mesh it in between?
I do think that it is part of it. Maybe it comes along with it, but the base will be always craftsmanship. And you can spot that very easily, I think, on plates. If someone is super creative but doesn't honor the craftsmanship, and you can spot within seconds if they're a mistake, especially when you eat it. But like nowadays, people are with social media and all that, people are more worried about how it looks and how what they actually feedback get from the people who take pictures of it, rather than making sure that it arrives to the guest at the right temperature, that it comes consistent out, that which means that every plate is the same, rather than, okay, I'm going to make one beautiful plate, and before even executing it on my restaurant, I'm already going to post it because I want to show everyone how creative I am. I do think craftsmanship comes first because it speaks volumes. That's how you make delicious food, not by making by being the most creative one or being artistic. That still doesn't guarantee you that it's going to be delicious. But if you are a phenomenal craftsman and you have great ingredients, but you're not as creative, I rather have that than from someone who has amazing ingredients, is lacking craftsmanship, but is super creative. So this is sort of where I'm standing.
I think you might have changed my mind then. That's an incredible way to look at it. I've never heard that before, and I think that's, I mean, shoot. You kind of like blew my mind
It,
with that
no,
statement.
but it's like, let's take music. Let's say someone who plays jazz. How does he play jazz? Okay, he's phenomenal. He's creative. All that. He's the artist, 100%. But he can reach that only because he honored the skill of playing music. He knows how to read notes. He knows how all the songs work. And then he can play jazz. And then he can be amazing, creative, and all that. But he cannot do that without not honoring his skills and the foundation and the base. Only if you know that, then I think you can call yourself whatever, an artist or but I do think people jump, and especially young chefs, too fast into this. I'm an artist. No, put your head down. learn the craftsmanship first. And then once you own it, all of that, yes, you can be a bit artistic or creative. Of course, it's the beauty of our job. But I still believe that craftsmanship and ingredients, those are the two most important things when it comes down to food you serve to customers. Because if you honor those two things, there won't be a mistake.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with you on that actually. So you're absolutely right. You have to master the
I'm glad.
skill.
I'm glad. I'm a bit like very particular on this point, but it's also because I catched myself in the beginning as well when I was young, when I was a cafer, and I had this French executive chef, and I had to make a dessert. And oh my God, I remember I looked at that plate now and I feel ashamed because I wanted to be super creative and I made some weird ravioli with agar agar and it was inedible. It looked phenomenal and I was so proud of it. And this chef, he destroyed me in all of the entire team and said, Chris, uh, this is not it. You're going the wrong way. You're focusing way more on being like creative and showing what you can do rather than flavor and texture and using all the products and ingredients in the right way. He threw me completely off. He said, "Chris, you're 18. What is agar agar? What does it do? What does it mean? It's thermal reversible. Why are you using it?" And I didn't know. And I think that speaks to a lot of young chefs. You just need to first learn all the foundations and then you can move ahead. How many chefs are there nowadays? They don't know how basic vinaigrette goes anymore without xanthan. There's so many people who don't know that. And this is more or less my point.
I can't, yeah, I can't dispute that now. You changed my mind. That's gonna be the way I'm thinking now moving forward. I think that's absolutely amazing.
I'm glad. I'm glad I could change it a little bit.
So I wanted to save this question for later, but since we already brought it up, I want to speak to you about this social media influence. Some argue that Instagram and TikTok are killing fine dining because people care more about the look than the taste. Do you think social media has helped or hurt the culinary industry?
Mm, both ways again. It's a thin line, uh, double-edged sword. I think in our industry, I'm not talking now as a guest perspective, but as a chef, I do think it helps. It helps to connect with colleagues, to support each other, to share recipes, to share R&D ideas and thoughts. So uh, it helps, I think, on fine dining and on the level we are, to push each other, because you can easily just send pictures and videos, and you see also what other chefs are doing during the time. Um, but I do think you need to use it in the right way. Um, there are some people who copy, which is okay. I don't have anything against copying, as long as you give credit, because with social media, it is very easy to spot if people are copying or not. So I think it's great to get inspiration from it. I do by myself as well. But then, of course, you need to change it to your own version, to your own spark, to your own dish. Unless you copy it 100%, then you just give, I don't know, a homage or credit or something to the person. And then, so as a chef speaking, I do think it's good, but only if you use it in the right, correct way. And then for guest perspective, I do think it would be better for a bit of less social media, because people just get biased too much. For me, instance, whenever I go to a fine dining restaurant, of course, I heard of it. That's why I'm going, but I try to avoid to read through the menu to see what they're doing, because that is the excitement of going to a fine dining establishment, to not know what you're getting, to have a little bit of a surprise. And I do think social media can take a bit away from that. And then the second part, I do think it also takes a bit away the attention from some guests who are only glued on the phone and only care about taking that perfect shot, rather than just focusing on the experience, focusing on the flavors, and on the dish itself. It is sometimes a bit annoying when people take pictures and you literally watch them, that the food gets soggy or cold, or it's just changing in texture, because people are literally spending 5 to 10 minutes taking pictures. Ice creams are melting, but that's up to them actually. So I do think the true foodies and the true people who who still want the full experience, put their phone away, or they take a quick picture, but then they put all their focus on the food or on the company they have. Um, yeah, so it's a bit of both.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see where you're coming from with that. I mean, me personally, I just take a quick photo and then I taste the food and I start going from there. And the reason why I take the photo is because it's not for social media. Clearly, I don't post as much food as I personally would like to have on my social media, but it's more so of like remembering that experience, remembering what I had and what was on that dish, right?
Like,
Um, so for me, it's more because again, I'm a professional chef. I'm a professional private chef, and doing that, I am able to learn. Not just from what is on the ingredients, but also what's the texture like? How do they cook the said ingredient? Right? Did they torch it? Did they put it on the grill? Did they put it in sous vide? What was the difference? Or how could I make it better? What would I have done differently versus what the chef had done? Um, but yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from with that. Um, I want to get into fine dining's future, and then after that, we're gonna go into running in 3 Michelin-star restaurant kitchen. So, do you think that fine dining is evolving in the right direction, or are we at risk losing what makes it special?
I do think fine dining is turning somewhat in the right direction, based on sustainability, reducing costs, reducing work hours. I do think 10 years ago it was all about the perfect plate, just giving the best product to the guest. You have a beautiful piece of salmon, and you only use the middle part, and you don't worry about what you do with left and the right side, with the belly, with the head. Just throw it away. If you need to make a dice of mango brunoise or whatever, you just cut the heart of it, and half of the mango goes away. I think that was sort of uh, a bit the mantra 10 years ago in some of the restaurants. And nowadays it's more about, okay, we want zero waste, or trying to have zero waste. We at Taian Table, we have the Green Star, which always pushes us to be sustainable, to not only urge food to reduce food waste, but also plastic. We reduce as much plastic here in China. Plastic is a big thing, but we reduce it as much as possible. Um, so I do think in that way, fine dining is going in the right direction, also offering a lot of vegetarian options. Then the amazing chefs like Daniel Hong, who changed this entire concept of 11 Medicine Park and goes vegetarian, which I highly respect. People are more conscious of serving also healthy food. Before fine dining always had the statement, yeah, it's delicious, but it's unhealthy. People use tons of butter, only foie gras, and in the end, you feel sick of it. Now it becomes more of, okay, you still want to feel good about yourself, healthy, not completely bloated. So in this way, I definitely can feel the change that people want to go into the more green way of fine dining without compromising on the experience and the ingredients they use.
Yeah, no, I 11 Madison Park is definitely the running the forefront on healthy food, as well as um, being conscious about their cost and how they're using their ingredients. So I think they're a great example, and I think for all restaurants, whether it's from the fine dining level all the way down to a quick service restaurant, I think they really are setting a great example, and setting the the standard for a lot of restaurants. Um, so I want to get into Taian Table and their identity. So what makes it different from their from other Michelin star restaurants?
So, Stefan Stille founded Taian Table around 8 years ago with the goal to change the menu every 6 to 8 weeks with the counter seats that people could see what is happening. And with over the years, Taian Table evolved. Um, Evolved in terms of quality, but also in terms of guest experience. Now, Taian Table is somewhat, we call it, we're one of the more funky 3-star restaurants than what you might expect, because we don't have white tablecloths. When you enter, the music is quite upbeat, like sort of a minimal house direction, and you can watch the entire team preparing the food. And then the way our service is as well very friendly, very casual, not stiff at all. So this is what Taian Table sort of stands for. And then in terms of food, is that yes, at core we are a European, or as we call it in Shanghai, a Western restaurant, but because we have a lot of influence from different countries. I'm half German, half Dutch. Lived in a lot of different countries before ending up here in Shanghai. Same with Stefan, who has been here 20 years. His wife is Korean, and our team is multicultural as well. So we don't shy away to use Asian products or products from abroad. So we identify as a European restaurant with Asian influence, where every course can be a homage to a certain, whether city or a country, or just an ingredient which we think that might work very well with that dish.
So, once a restaurant reaches 3 Michelin stars, the expectations are astronomical. How do you balance creativity and consistency?
Um, I Well, consistency is just through training, having a very strong team, and more than that, training the right mindset. Training the right mindset through communication, leading by example, not by fear. If you lead too much by fear and people are scared to work, they're more willing to hide mistakes, which then end up to the guest, which is obviously a fatal problem. So it's all about building a very good team that is loyal, that is trustworthy, and very good in communication. So that's, I think, the part that sort of makes sure that you are consistent, that you have a team that also is enjoying what they're doing. And then the other part is, of course, establishing good recipes, good work of flow, timelines for the team to follow, and then teaching your senior staff to check to produce every morning, including myself, to be hands-on. Doesn't matter which title you carry as a chef, to be hands-on and to be inside the kitchen and be in touch with the products, the team. That's the base of how to achieve consistency on our level. And then creativity is a given, because that's out of passion, that comes through communication. During making mise en place, we talk, what I mentioned earlier, when we talk about new dishes, this comes and go. For us, it's also about that innovation is more important than perfection. We do believe, it comes actually from Stefan, that the moment you think you have a perfect menu and you roll out that menu for several years, you become complacent, the team becomes lazy, they're trying to look for shortcuts rather than preparing the perfect mise en place for the service. And what we're doing, in a way, is exactly the opposite. The moment people feel comfortable, we already change the menu again. And this is, I think, also how we stay sharp every menu. We don't get complacent. We don't get lazy, because the moment you look left and right side, the next menu is already in front of you. So you're restless. Your brain is always thinking about the next thing. So where a lot of people think, oh, this might be even more difficult, I do strongly believe it helps everyone to maintain the expectations of what we want to deliver, because the entire team becomes more strong. They become more confident. They don't, and if people at Taian tables stay more than 2 years, they don't only see one way of how you cook a lobster. Most probably they see it in 4 different ways. The same goes with in garde manger, or how to use foie gras, or Japanese fish, or local products we get here in Shanghai. How to use them in 3, 4, 5 different ways, rather than, oh, you go to a restaurant and then you see it in one way, you stay there for 1 or 2 years. Yeah, I think it's very interesting for the young chefs, because you grow constantly.
I really like that you said you lead by example, and that, I learned, leading by example was like one of the lessons I learned when I first became a chef, or an executive chef. And that lesson wasn't taught to me by another chef. It was actually taught to me by a Navy SEAL. And he said, I would never ask my team to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And, if he was, cleaning his pistol or whatever he was doing, the team was also doing it as well, with him. He's not asking someone else to clean his pistol for him, because it's his responsibility. And I think that, you leading by example in that matter of like making sure that the produce is up to par, not just because you as the chef wants to know that it's up to par, but it's also you're setting the standard for your team. Hey, this is what, my lettuce is supposed to look like, or, whatever ingredient you're using for that season. So I think that's very important as a leader to be able to showcase that, as well as it just shows just how do you call it? You have a sense of responsibility, and I think
Yeah,
that's good.
you're part of the team, and titles doesn't matter. And for us, our senior team, they are as hardworking as anybody else. And if somebody is struggling, whether it's a commie apprenticeship or even in the pot wash, we're the first one in the line to help out. And the team sees it. It's very healthy. We even joke about it that if we do certain jobs that maybe are not up to our like what people expect us to do, like picking herbs or whatever. But right now the section needs it and we all do it. And my chef de cuisine does it. I do it if it's required. And then we joke around, we say, we're commis de cuisine. But that's exactly how we feel inside, because inside we're always going to be cooks. And the moment you step out of the kitchen too much, you lose control of the quality. And I do think as the chef in charge, like you said, lead by example, get your hands dirty. And I liked your Navy SEAL comparison. Yeah, you don't ask anything to the team you wouldn't do yourself. Yeah, that's how you can spark the fire of every young chef in your team. If you only have a leader who's only yelling at you and sitting in the office and not really getting anything done, why will people stay? Why will people stay? People stay because they look at the sous chef, they look at the chef de cuisine or any other chef, and they're like, "Oh, I can really learn from him." That's why they stay. They come for the restaurant, but they stay because of the chef in the kitchen.
So Taian is a restaurant that continues to innovate, and again, it's fairly different from other 3 Michelin-star restaurants because, like you mentioned, it is an up more of kind of like an upbeat style of restaurant. What was the inspiration behind that?
That's a very good question. Um, well, it's not nobody has done before, but what Stefan Stiller did at that time was definitely one of the first kind. This open counter seats. Now I think you can see a lot of restaurants going through that because now it's more experience focused than food focused than before. I believe fine dining. It sort of merges now together. Let's say 10 years ago, it was people will go just because of the food. Now people go because there are additional plus points to it, whether it's the music, the experience, the location. Um, and we were definitely one of the first people who were saying, okay, let's be less stiff. Let's be more funky. Let's talk to the guests. What Stefan created is he made even the chairs of the counter seats quite high. So when the guests are sitting and we are working inside of the kitchen, we are looking with the guests on eye level, which makes it very comfortable and very easy to talk with each and every guest. Like, yeah, you're not special. You're just one of us, and it feels very warm. And so I think rather than just of course, the food, what we do at Timetable is very special, but it's the entire experience. That Stefan takes a lot of pride of being a good host, and that people have a good and fun evening in the end of the day with good conversations, good bottles of wine, and of course, great food.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, keeping it personable, comfortable, and they're essentially invited into your home. table and you're giving them that beautiful experience, not only through the food, but also through the service of, "Hey, how are you folks doing today?" Type of thing. So I think that's amazing. Um, so I want to get into Michelin relevance. So some chefs believe that the Michelin guide is outdated, while others say that it's the ultimate standard. I want to know what your take is.
Mm, I think, well, number one, what we said earlier is guests' feedback. The guests, if they are happy, your business survives, your restaurant survives. These are the people you cook for. However, with all the recognitions you can have nowadays, I do believe that Michelin is still the number one, um, because you just don't know. You can always guess and uh, argue who are the people who are coming and evaluating your restaurant. But in the end of the day, you just don't know. And I do think, yeah, they're still very relevant. They are publishing now in more countries than before, which is great for a lot of chefs who never had this, let's say, platform before. Um, but me personally speaking, I still think that Michelin will continue staying the number one because it is just very hard to figure out who they are, how they evaluate, um, and yeah, it's always quite a nice surprise when you're sitting there and figuring out if you made it or not.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I aspire for 3 Michelin stars when I open up my own restaurant hopefully in the near future. But um, I think that that's definitely something that I can get behind with you on that one. Um, I don't, I can't imagine that there's another list as high as Michelin. But that's awesome that you guys were able to achieve that. Um, do you think that food should always tell a story, or should it simply be about flavor and execution?
Um, so at Taian, we really focus on the guest experience, and of course that we serve the food in a way that people understand what they are eating. Um, but I don't believe in too much storytelling. I do think if the food is phenomenal, it speaks volumes. You don't need to already uh, brainwash the guests with too much information. Otherwise, you cannot focus on your own opinion. That opinion almost gets taken away already by the explanation. And I think if you're a good chef, that's why food is amazing. It can speak in all languages, whether the person speaks the language or not. It's either tasty for the person or not, and you don't need a lot of storytelling, in my opinion. Um, I like to cook very good food. I like to cook delicious food. I'm very happy when I'm in the kitchen and touch ingredients I love and to make sauces and to serve food where I'm just like, yeah, I would love to have a bowl of that now or to have a bite of this. But this is where I feel the most comfortable and happy with. And I don't worry too much about uh, how to explain it to the guests. Of course, if they ask, I don't mind to share my piece of why we came up with it, but there's not such a thing that we have a huge briefing with the entire service team that why we serve it in this particular way. No, because it makes sense. We cook in layers, we cook in textures, we cook in a way that it's not too complicated for the guests, that every bite makes sense. I think 10 years ago, it was very important to create plates where you have so many components all put far away, and then every bite they taste differently. For us, it's all about layers, the sauce, the main product, the garnish, textures, and then when you have the bite, that you already have this effect of okay, this is just good food. And whether it is the most stunning plate or not, that doesn't matter. It matters that the hot food is hot, the cold food is cold, that the textures are right, and that you can feel and appreciate the main product on the plate.
So simple is best, is what you're saying, right?
Of course, you can details do matter for sure, but done in the right way, which means done in a way that, okay, if I leave that detail off, does it matter or not? And does it enhance my plate or not? Of course, you can show a bit of skills and um, show that you have a strong team, but need to think about it in a big scale. Can I do this dish for 30 packs? Is my team strong enough right now? I believe the team can. It's almost like driving a car. Sometimes you're on the third gear, sometimes you're on the fifth gear, but you cannot run always on the fifth gear. You need to look at your team and see, okay, is this menu right now the right choice for the team I have right now? Or can I switch even in the sixth gear and push a bit higher? The menu we're doing right now at Taian Table is, I think, one of the most complicated menus we've done before. It doesn't take away that it's not following our mantra, but just in terms of details and work that goes into it before actually finishing it, which means we have a lot of mise en place to do, a lot of small jobs we are doing, but we are only doing this because my entire team, my chef de cuisine, my sous chef, including me, we are confident that the team is right now super strong. And that's why we're like, okay, let's go in the sixth year right now. But the moment you have people sick, or you just feel that, okay, maybe one or two key people, they left to 2 or 3 years, then you need to put in account which menu you are having or which dishes you put on the menu. Because like I said before, it's not me cooking the food for everyone. It's the entire team. You're driving a car, and you need to figure out which gear you are in right now, be responsible of it, and based on that, make your decision on which menu and which dishes you put on the menu.
I want to get into perfection because I think this is extremely important, especially after what you just mentioned. With the complexity, the complexity of your new menu coming up, can a dish truly be perfect, or is perfection just an illusion in fine dining?
I don't think it's an illusion. I do think perfection is a mantra. Um, you want to get it perfect. The way to perfection is important. But like you said, there's no perfect dish. Innovation goes above perfection, because innovation comes through mistakes, innovation comes through hiccups, innovation comes through surprises. And if you stick on only the perfect plate, you might miss out on the innovative part, and you might miss out on other ideas that might spark along why you think outside of the box. And so what we mentioned before, why we change the menu so often, is to keep yourself open-minded, to break the habit of, okay, there's only one way. No, there are multiple ways, and to constantly keep evolving, and also to change your style. That you don't do, I don't know, the sashimi, or you cook a piece of meat in one way, but because you think, oh, this is the only right way. No, there's not the only one way. There are multiple ways. And I think perfection, if you're figuring out, okay, I only want to do the perfect plate, it sort of kills everything I just mentioned before. It kills the openness to figure out, oh, maybe there are other ways to cook the lamb. Because, oh, no, you're so confident that you think, ah, this is the only right way. No, I think what we do at Tiny Table, of course, is phenomenal how we cook the lamb. Do I think there might be better ways? I hope so. I think so. We just haven't figured it out yet. And I think that's important to admit to yourself, that it's the road to perfection, but innovation is more important.
So with that being said, perfection, okay, it's the mantra, right? I want to get into the accessibility debate, okay? In terms of fine dining, you know how it's expensive and exclusive. At least the restaurants here in LA, I've seen Michelin-Starred restaurants go up to like $500 per person. I think at 11 Madison Park, don't quote me on this, but I know it was over like $300 per person. Um, and that's USD, which is pretty expensive for one person to be able to experience that. Personally speaking, my business, if you go on my website, I in my mission statement, we say that um, we try to give the best possible fine dining experience that rivals Michelin-Star restaurants. So I have servers who have worked at a Michelin-Star restaurant who works for me on the side and is able to deliver that experience for private guests when I go to their home and I cook for them. But yet we do it at an affordable rate. Should world-class chefs have a responsibility to make their food more accessible?
I do think in restaurants, fine dining restaurants, on that price level, I think it comes for a reason. And it's not because, first of all those restaurants, they don't make money. We don't. It's we make it because we're proud and happy to do our job and to offer a experience that showcases the best food and ingredients on the world. I tend to look in the other way, that it just lacks a little bit in education towards the guests to make them understand that the food you are serving comes from far away, pays farmers, pays producers, and that it is quite expensive. And that, let's say, the food costs for a lot of restaurants are usually on our level, maybe 28, sometimes 30. Sometimes I've seen the restaurants who are working on 40% food costs, which is so much. And then you need to pay your staff, you need to pay electricity, you need to pay insurance. There's not much left over. So I do think it's not too expensive for these kind of restaurants. I believe it's just people missing out on why is it so expensive? Because people work a lot of hours. The ingredients, maybe if they're locally sourced, uh, I mean, it is not that you go to the supermarket and you buy a piece of chicken for $5. Yes, you can, but it's maybe most probably garbage chicken, and people need to understand that high products come for a high price, and then what we cooks do is just to transform it in the best possible way, and the money you make out of it is really not a lot. Like, if you talk about 2, 3 stars, I think there are not a lot of most probably no restaurant that makes actually big money out of it. We do it pure out of passion, craftsmanship, showcasing delicious food. And it's our responsibility in our industry to make people understand why is it that, I don't think it's expensive, but why does it cost that much money? And I do think if people want to have that experience, yes, they can. They can go to other restaurants who also cook phenomenal well for low price points. But then most probably you don't see a turbot on the menu, and you don't see veal or wagyu on the menu. You still can experience an amazing fine dining experience with a lot of craftsmanship, whether you go to vegetarian restaurants, etc. But if you go to a classic French European restaurant and you want to experience amazing products, of course that comes for a little bit of a price, because we all need to run a business, pay vendors, pay the producers in order to get phenomenal ingredients. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. So it, So when I say with my business, I charge an affordable rate, it's because I'm using local ingredients. Where I
Right.
where I live, I can drive maybe 20 minutes away and get fresh eggs because there's a bunch of farms where I live. I can get uh I can get a fresh goat if I wanted one. Like it'll be live 1 minute and then gone the next minute, right? Um, the eggs, organic, completely clean, same thing with the chickens and so forth. I can get all that stuff at an affordable rate. We also have farmers markets where, they will sell me um their produce at an affordable rate. And I could just ask them, hey, would you be able to grow this for me? And I, again, like you mentioned, I'd need this in 3 months or so. And then perfect, it'll be ready for me. Now, you're outsourcing, right? Ingredients, right? So for the average person who doesn't understand that these ingredients are coming from not just from China, but from all over the world, how do you explain to someone who's not really like, you know, willing to spend that much? Like, what route do you take in terms of like, hey, this is the experience we're offering, and so forth. So where do you stand with that?
I do think it's more. Mm, it comes through every individual person with their own beliefs of how they like to spend their money. There's so many people who go to an opera show every day. There's so many people who watch their favorite football. And the same way that people love to spend their money in fine dining restaurants. So those people who don't understand, I don't blame them. That's absolutely fine. And maybe I'm the person who doesn't understand why people spend a lot of money to go to an opera show. So everyone can do it in their own way, and I think that's fine. I do think we need to be responsible when the people are actually already sitting in your restaurant, and then explain them, okay, where do the ingredients come from? Why is it so special? Um, I think that just adds a bit more to the entire experience and make the people also understand why they spent this kind of money, how much work goes into it, what the team does with the ingredients, how you develop the dish, etc. I think that's quite a yeah, a crucial part to explain to each and every customer. But beforehand, I don't think it's easy to explain to the people who haven't experienced it before. It's the same thing to explain to someone why you should go to an opera show or why you should go to a Champions League final. When you're there, and if you like it, you revisit it, and if you don't like it, you leave it and you choose another hobby.
Yeah, I have yet to go to a Champion League final.
I haven't been. I want to go, but I haven't been.
Um, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the to your legacy. Okay,
Okay.
100 years from now, when people say Christiaan Stoop, what do you want that name to represent?
I would like that people think of a great mentor. Um, Same what other chefs gave to me, that people think I gave them confidence in uh, cooking and the craftsmanship, technique and skill. Um, that I was a hands-on leader, always in the kitchen, cooking with them, showing them the passion I have, the fire I have in my heart of our job. Um, if people say that, I'm a very happy man.
Yeah, I know. I definitely I love that answer. And you come off very humble. I think that's another thing too that I want people to remember you because
Oh, thank you.
you 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 come off very humble, you come off very loving, and I think that's a very important trait for any chef to have. Um, advice to young chefs. If you could give one piece of advice to young chefs who want to reach Michelin star levels, what would it be?
Um, I have two advices. Find a phenomenal chef who takes you as a trainee, who gives you a lot of shit, but also teaches you a lot. That's number one. So don't choose a restaurant. Choose a very good chef, a cook, sous chef, chef de cuisine. Doesn't matter who, but someone you can bond with. And second, go abroad. Just experience different cultures, whether it is on a Michelin star level or not. But that will shape you into a chef which is individual. You can find your own way through your own experiences, and it will not only shape you as a great cook, but also as a great human being. So I think going abroad is one of the best aspects of every chef. What you can do, it's very rewarding. So those two, if I can give two advices, those are my two advices.
Yeah, no, I think that's like my one regret is not being able to travel, or not having to travel, or even not knowing that this is what I wanted to do with my career. Was otherwise I would have gone to France, I would have gone to Mexico, I would have done, gone to New York and learned from the best. But life takes us, in different ways, and
But
however,
the beautiful part of our job, you can always combine it, whether it's just for a week or two. Maybe you don't have to work for a specific restaurant for a year, but you can always come to a restaurant for 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, learn from them, and go back, I think. But I know what you mean. It comes with a lot of commitment. And that's why I recommend it for all the young chefs when they are 18, 19. They don't have a car, they don't have bills to pay, they can live out of a suitcase. That's what I've done for the first 5 years. I moved to Spain, England, India, all living not more out of than 2 suitcases. And it is very unique, and it definitely changed me not only as a cook, but also as a yeah, human, as my own character. Yeah.
yeah, no, when I go to Shanghai, um, I will be knocking at your door.
Yep.
Nice.
Please. I would be very happy to host you here in Shanghai for sure.
Dream collaboration. If you could collaborate with any chef, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you make?
Oh, there's so many people I think of, but just based on books I've read and inspirations, and I got through my like super young years. I was 15, 16. I think it would be Marco Pierre White in his prime when Gordon Ramsay was his sous chef. I think it must have been hell, but at the same time, just rock and roll in the kitchen. Um, I think I would love to collaborate with Marco Pierre White at his prime.
Awesome. That's a great choice. I'm not even,
Yeah.
I got a picture of Gordon Ramsay right here. He signed it too.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Um, what's next? Uh, are there any exciting projects that you have planned for Taian Table that the world should know about? We know that you have a new menu. So maybe if you want to elaborate, like what the menu is about.
All right. Yeah. So for us, main focus is to keep innovating, to keep the expectations matched of all the customers who are coming worldwide. Now we are already on menu 49, which is crazy to think about. And this menu highlights a lot of phenomenal products, whether we talk about the Campacci, beautiful local frogs, which we are using for a French Indian influenced dish, towards a very Cantonese way of cooking of a duck in our main course with Xiajiang, which is a local ginger, also coming here from China, to a palate cleanser from made from Yunnan papaya, which is quite far away from Shanghai, but still in mainland China, which has this amazing acidic, sour, raw papaya, which we use in this fair with different textures of the sweet papaya from another province in China called Hainan. So yeah, in this menu, we basically showcased a lot of Asian influence, coupled with a lot of local ingredients from China as well. And then we have our ever-changing add-ons from the right side. So yeah, I'm happy to welcome any guests who's coming to Taian Table to experience our new menu.
Awesome. Christiaan, where can we find you?
We are here in Shanghai, Taian Table, and also in Guangzhou, which is south of China. And for now, our reservations are up to a month. So yeah, just make a reservation on our website or phone, and we are very happy. I'm very happy to welcome you at Taian Table.
Awesome. Christiaan, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me again. It's been an extremely honor. This conversation has been an honor for me. You've achieved so much in your career, and I think that I definitely see a lot more great things for you and your team. But yeah, I sincerely appreciate it, and hopefully we could talk very soon in the future.
Thank you, Ismail. Thank you. Was very nice to talk to you and to share a little bit insight of what we're doing here in Shanghai. And I hope to speak to you soon, and at some point to see you in Shanghai.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please take the time to subscribe, like, and comment. And remember, stay passionate, stay focused, and keep moving forward with a purpose.